So we are back for another example of working with complex numbers. Right now we're going to look at multiplication. We've shown that addition and subtraction both work, so let's try multiplication. And again, this works really well. If we're multiplying two binomials, we should think back to when we're working with factors like x minus 2 or x plus 1, because the way we multiply those binomial factors will be the same way that we multiply complex numbers. So the first method you might recall is the FOIL method. FOIL stands for first, outer, inner, last. So we take the product of the first numbers. So 5 times 3 is 15. Then we have the product of the outer numbers. So 5 times negative 2i, that's negative 10i. Then the inner numbers, so 7i times 3, I believe that is 21i. And finally, the last numbers. So 7i times negative 2i is going to be negative 14i squared. So take a moment and on your own, combine these like terms and think about how can we simplify these further. First, I hope you've noticed that our two middle terms are like terms. So we have 15, and then minus 10i plus 21i is going to be a difference of positive 11i. But something interesting happens with I squared. Because if I is the square root of negative 1, then I squared is just negative 1. So what happens is this whole negative 1 disappears, and we change the sign of that last term to be positive. So whenever we have I squared in an expression, we always replace it with negative 1. And now we can simplify further. 15 and 14 are like terms, and together they give us 29. And then our 11i doesn't change, so we get a final product of 29 plus 11i. Now, you might not like the FOIL method. It's not everyone's favorite because you have to remember what all of these letters stand for. So I do want to show the box method by which we can multiply our two numbers. And because it's the box method, we're going to start by drawing a box. Along the top, we put our first factor, so 5 plus 7i. And along the left side, we have 3 minus 2i. This is our second factor. And now we find the area of each square by multiplying what's on the corresponding row and column. So 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 7i is 21i. Negative 2i times 5 is negative 10i. And finally, negative 2i times 7i is negative 14i squared. Now we're almost ready to combine our like terms, but I want to remember that I squared turns at negative. It's negative 1. So this is actually positive 14 because it's negative 14 times negative 1. And now we just combine our like terms. So 15 plus 14 is 29. And 21i minus 10i is positive 11i. So we get the same product as we should expect, but we've used a different way of organizing our math. This one is more visual in that we are constructing a box and multiplying, but it's very effective in organizing this process to help us multiply our complex numbers. And you might be thinking, what about division? And that we will cover in another video.